Hi there, I'm joined today by Richard Sims, who's one of the licensed insolvency practitioners at FA Sims & Partners. Hi there, Richard.
Hello, Martha. Hello, viewers.
And we're going to discuss today a couple of frequently asked questions we receive from directors that we've helped in the past. So, Richard, what are the insolvency options available in the UK at present?
Well, first of all, we've got to stand back and say, who is it or what is it that's facing insolvency? There are very distinct routes available to individuals and companies as different entities. So we stand back and we say, first question is, are we dealing with a limited company? If we're not dealing with a limited company, then ultimately everything else outside of the limited status will be dealt with in a different way. I'm cautious there to include, carefully here, that a limited liability partnership is included within company legislation. So limited liability partnership and company will be dealt with in the same way. Aside from that, whether someone is an individual with debts in their own personal name, or whether in fact they've been trading as a business, and I say a business not as a limited company, then they fall into the category of being under the individual options available. So taking that split importantly between the two of them, if we look and talk about an individual or an unincorporated business, so a business that is not a company, then their main options at the very beginning, and this is the very old solution, is bankruptcy. That's the kind of clear all, sort the whole thing out, problem solved situation. And it's a very old-fashioned solution, been around for a long time, and is very effective at clearing that through. Moving on from there, in terms of a more formal arrangement with creditors, we're looking at something called an Individual Voluntary Arrangement, or known more regularly as an IVA. So the IVA is a chance to settle debts with creditors through an agreement over time to repay back during some time. More softly than that, you move forward then to more informal negotiation with individual creditors in that situation. So very briefly, on the personal side or unincorporated business side, bankruptcy, IVA, informal debt solutions. Coming back to the company, limited company has different options because we're talking about something with its own limited liability legal status. In that situation, a limited company can, at the end of the road, be finished down through an insolvent liquidation. An insolvent liquidation, very briefly, takes two forms: a compulsory liquidation, compulsory defining it as being forced into liquidation by a creditor, and a voluntary liquidation, being liquidated by the directors realising their situation of the company. So compulsory liquidation and creditors voluntary liquidation, CVL, creditors voluntary liquidation, that's the most used tool in the UK for insolvent companies. Moving away from there more towards rescue facilities, then we've got the idea of administration. Administration can be used for a variety of methods to help rescue the business. Then also something called a Company Voluntary Arrangement, a CVA. A CVA is the corporate equivalent of an IVA we talked about for individuals. The CVA allows a repayment structure with creditors over a period of time. That's a very brief cover of a very detailed question, but I hope that's giving you some ideas about what the answers might be. Okay.
That's brilliant. And for insolvent companies, what would you say are the key warning signs that directors should look out for?
Well, this is a very emotive subject, really, because we understand, I think all small business owners understand as well, their business in many circumstances is their life to a lot of it. It takes over the entire running of life, it takes over the family life to a certain extent, it becomes the total focus of life. And the concerns there is that directors can sometimes, through almost pure optimism, potentially pride, can allow signs that might be visible outside the company not to be seen within the company or not to be reacted to. So the company carries on longer than perhaps it should do. So circumstances we often find, which are perhaps some of the earliest warning signs, are directors not drawing an income from the company, So directors not taking a salary out of the business, or directors not taking a dividend. We see directors putting money back into a company in the hope of resolving the situation the company finds itself in. So there are two things that are very strong indicators of problems in the company. If the directors are having to stand back to allow the company to carry on, or if they're having to put money into the company to help it carry on. Outside of that, we've got the more obvious signs, I guess. We'd see external pressure from creditors. So a creditor might be issuing a county court judgment, a threat of legal action, statutory demand could be threatened. So anything that shows up that creditors are pushing hard is an issue in there. I guess if you look at more kind of strategically than that, a wider scale, if, for example, we're seeing circumstances where an industry itself is in decline, or the products they're offering is in decline, there are perhaps signs around of impending insolvency because of that coming through from there. But certainly, be aware that in the circumstances, if you are considering investing your money back into a business that is struggling, as a director, please take some advice before you do. It's a very sad situation for us to see there, where a director comes to us having invested a remortgage of their property, or money borrowed from their friends or family to keep a business going, that actually hadn't resolved its underlying trading issues. We talk very simply about a bucket full of water with a hole in the bottom. The water's pouring out. If we don't do something to close the bucket off, if we keep pouring more water on top, i.e. cash, that cash will just be disappearing at the same rate it was before. So please think carefully before reinvesting in the company. Please get some advice from, if we can help you, we'll do a licensed source, someone who can help you. Thank you much. Okay.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Thank you.
And if you are experiencing any insolvency worries currently, then please get in contact with FA Sims and Partners on the number at the bottom of your screens. Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur.